No hate to this company, just hate to the crappy people you employ. Okay, I have a ton of things to say here, so I'm just gonna dive right into it. I'm gonna be talking about why I quit Slim Chickens. It's this place, a chicken place, like Zaxby's. There's just a lot of things that went down at this certain one that I worked at for almost a year and a half. And this is just a bunch of things that I have to say why I quit, why I think that place is hell, why I don't go back there, why that place just sucks, in my opinion. First of all, just want to start out by saying I am nobody special. I'm not thinking I am better than anybody who works there. I was really great at my job, and anybody who worked with me pretty much would tell you that same thing. They would vouch for that. I'm just saying this is a bunch of stuff that happened to me while I was there. That was unfair. Bottom line. So when I started working there, I was hired in July. Basically, there was a new crew that cycled like every month or two, which kind of makes sense. It's a restaurant. It happens. People quit, people get hired, whatever. After about a month, I was already training people, which that's really weird. Basically because all the people who had been there for forever quit or were fired for literally no reason, and then there was me there for a month, had me training people because I knew more than anyone there, because after just a couple months I had been there longer than anybody in the front. So I was hired at the very end of July, and by November I was employee of the month. I was the second ever employee of the month. I don't know if they had this program going on before I was there, but if they had, it had just started back up again. But I was the second ever employee of the month. The first one was a guy who'd worked there for like 4 or 5 years. So if that tells you anything, again, I was hired at the end of July. This was November that I was employee of the month. So after about 4 months, if that, I was employee of the month. Basically, we had 4 GMs, general managers, in 8 months. The first GM, I was only there for like a month, and I was training people, and she came up to me and told me she wanted me to be an in-store trainer, wanted me to go and get training to be an in-store trainer, and I'd get paid more, I'd get a raise, whatever. That never ended up happening. But regardless, I started out at $7.50. I got a raise to $7.75 from that first GM. But then minimum wage went up around Christmas time to $8. So it was like that raise never happened, and I was making the same amount of money as anybody else there, even the brand new people, whatever. And then after the first GM was fired, we had a second GM. She gave me a raise to $8.20. This GM, she promoted somebody to manager, but for some reason, I don't know what the heck was going on between them, because they, at some point, just kept trying to get each other fired and kept trying to find little things to get the other one fired. And they'd come up to me and ask me to watch the other one. I don't know. It was just a mess. It didn't make any sense, but like, I don't know. That being said, that GM was also fired. Then we got another GM. It was just a temporary one though. But with each new GM, you had to prove yourself, because they hadn't been there as long, so they didn't know who was good, they didn't know who did their job, who knew what they were doing, so they had to watch you and pick and choose from just watching you from a couple days who was the best, whatever. So they would promote people who didn't deserve to be promoted because they weren't there. They didn't talk to the other managers who had been there for forever. They just decided on their own, oh, these people need to be promoted, without talking to anybody, just watching for like a week. So these GMs would promote people that I had trained. I was basically the designated closer. Pretty much every shift I worked was a night shift, and I closed because they knew I was quick and I got that done really quickly. And so the new GMs usually worked during the day, so they weren't there at night to watch me, so they would promote people that I had trained instead of me, because they weren't there to see me work at that time. So one morning we had an employee meeting, and after the meeting I was standing outside talking to some coworkers, and then all of a sudden another coworker comes outside, and she comes up to me and says, "Amy, did you get promoted?" And I was like, "No, what are you talking about?" And then she was like, "Oh, well, they asked me to be a manager, and they said they were going to promote somebody else. I assumed it was you, obviously." And I was like, no, they haven't said anything to me, but I assume they would. I don't know who the heck else they would promote. That doesn't make any sense. And everyone in the group was like, oh yeah, it's definitely you. Like, who the heck else would it be, right? Guess who it wasn't? Exactly. So there was this guy that came in. He transferred from another Slim Chickens. I'm not sure how long he'd been with the company. I don't think it was all that long, but I'm not positive. But this guy, let's call him Crayola, okay? Crayola! First day I met the guy, we were talking about how they changed the rule that now we have to wear dark jeans instead of just jeans. But in the handbook it says jeans, just jeans. But now all of a sudden it's dark jeans. You can't wear light jeans in case you get food on you or something. Well, he chimes in with, oh yeah, no, we've always had to wear dark jeans. And then I'm like, well, in the handbook it doesn't say that, it just says jeans. Just like casually, I'm just like having a conversation. And he was like, no, it says dark. It says dark jeans. I'm like, no, it just says jeans. No, it says dark jeans. It does say dark jeans. It's always said dark jeans. Okay. Well, no, it doesn't. And then later that night, I went home and I looked at the handbook and it just says jeans. Yes. Okay, maybe they've changed it now, but a year ago it said jeans. So Crayola was trying to argue with me about jeans. First day I met the guy. Okay? So I worked with him several more times. This kid does not know how to work drive-thru, but for some reason he thinks he is the king of drive-thru. There was one day that me and him both had a headset. We were both on the drive-thru. I was supposed to take the orders and make the drinks. The person who takes the order is always supposed to make the drinks because that's more efficient. And I was paying people out and handing them their food. Okay? So he doesn't make drinks. I don't know what is wrong with this kid's head. For some reason, he doesn't know how to make a drink. He doesn't know how to get a cup, stick it under the faucet, and press a button. For some reason, he can't get it in his head that after he takes an order, he needs to make the drinks before he takes another order. So I'm getting behind because while he's taking a billion orders and only just standing there waiting for more orders to come in, I'm having to run around, pay people out, make their drinks, give them their food. I have to do it all except take orders. He just stands there and presses buttons on a screen. And I get fed up with it. I tell him a billion times, hey, make those drinks. Make those drinks. I get so angry and so annoyed that we hear a car pulling up and I quickly press the button so he's not able to and say, welcome to Slim Chickens. Can you please hold for a second? And I keep it on my headset. Don't send it over to him. I look at him and I say, ketchup on your drinks before you take another order. And so he goes and makes his drinks. This guy, Crayola, the next week was promoted to manager. Crayola, the guy who I had to scream at in the drive-thru, who I had to stop from taking an order so he can catch up on drinks for me, was promoted above me, higher than me. I said, oh, if this guy ever tries to tell me what to do, I'm not doing it. Not gonna happen. No, he doesn't know what he's doing. That doesn't make any sense. He was promoted by our fourth GM. Whenever this guy was a manager, Crayola, for some reason, Crayola has it in his mind that all a manager does is stand there and watch you and delegate. He has this in his head because the GM that promoted him did the same thing. So he just watched that and decided, you know what, that's what I'm supposed to do too. Just stand here, hand you orders, tell you where to take them. But I don't play that game. Nope. You have 2 feet. You can do just as much as I can. So one night I was sweeping up the rugs, right? And he's just standing there. And some people walking in the door. Crayola looks at me. Crayola looks at the customers. He says to the customers, she'll get you in just a second. I pause. I look over at him. I put my broom down. I turn around and I walk to the back room. I was obviously busy, very busy. He was obviously standing there doing nothing. So I went to the back and I stood there and I watched him take that order through the window because I was not about to take that order. That was crap. Absolute crap. Every other manager takes orders, especially when everyone else is busy. But he's too good for it for some reason, because that's what he saw from his lovely GM. So they make the plates in the back, and then they put it on this window, and we're supposed to go to the window, find which number it goes to, and take it to that table. For some reason, Crayola learned from our newest GM that managers are supposed to stand at the window, pick up a plate, look at the number it goes to, and hand it to one of the cashiers and say, this is the number, take it to this table. They can go take it, but God forbid I am busy doing something else when they're not, and they could easily take it. So Crayola, so I clean tables, and then I walk back up, and I'm about to put the bottle and cloth down, when Crayola turns around to me with a plate, and he says, 24. I look at him. I say, 24. He says, 24. And tries to hand it to me. I say, 24. And I just look at him and say 24 back to him. And guess what he did? He took that plate all the way over to 24. He walked 2 feet over there and placed the plate on number 24. I had been there almost a year and a half. I was not about to be bossed around by somebody who I knew did not deserve that position. So we had an assistant GM at one point. Let's call her Crepe Paper. First day I walk in and she's there. I had been there for a year, and she is talking to me like I've never worked a day in my life. And she talked to me this way the entire time that we worked together. Right whenever you walked in, she would immediately look at you and say, wipe down this, clean this, restock this, double check this. Like, listing off all these things I need to do when I just walked through the door. I haven't even clocked in yet. You need to chill out. And God forbid you stand there and do nothing for half a second. She's already on your butt about you just standing there. You're not allowed to take a breather. No, you have to make sure those windows are clean and the tables are clean. Talking down to you like you have no idea what you're doing when you know more about this restaurant than they do. I say that because this is the same person. Crepe Paper came up to me one day. On Tuesday nights, we have the student discount where if you come in and you bring your college ID, you get a discount. Crepe Paper came up to me while I was mopping the floors, and she asked me if you can get a student discount on a kid's meal. And I told her, no, we used to do that back when our second GM was there, but that's whenever they changed it to full meals, no kids meal. We don't take the student discount off of kids meals. And she's like, okay, because I didn't know, I was wondering. The assistant GM, Crepe Paper, who tells me what to do every second of the day like I have never worked there a day in my life, is asking me what the rules are for this restaurant. I don't understand. This same lady, Crepe Paper, again, we have the student discounts on Tuesdays. So one day I was checking out a customer and I said, are you a student? And they said yes. And I was like, okay, student discount. And then I gave them their student discount. And then they walked off. And Crepe Paper overheard me. And she was like, hey, don't ask if they're a student. I looked at her. I was like, don't ask if they're a student? She said, yeah, don't do that. And I was like, why? And she's like, just don't. And I was like, but it's student night. We offer this discount. I'm not just not going to ask if they're a student, because a lot of times they forget to say that they're a student and we don't give them their discount. And then they realize after the fact, after they've already paid, that they didn't get their discount. And they're mad at me. So yeah, I'm going to ask if they are a student. We offer this discount, but we don't promote it. That doesn't make any sense. They didn't know that there was a student discount. They're not going to be back next Tuesday like all these other students if we don't let them know that there's a student discount. I'm helping your company. So basically I just told her I'm not going to not ask if they're a student. And she was just like, speechless. She didn't know what to say to that. She just kind of walked off. I am not about to play that game. So this last GM, keep in mind, like, I had been looking for a job for months. This last GM pushed me over the edge. Let's call him Trash. Trash! The fourth and final GM to my story. Trash is this old man who, he just didn't know what he was doing. No clue. I don't know. He's the one that stands there at the window and throws a plate at you and says a number and screams a number in your face. One day we were having a rush and it was like one of his first days there, and I walked up to take some plates out, and he tries to hand me the plate but doesn't look at me whenever he hands me the plate, and he says a number and I hear 64. And so to verify, I say 64 and he says 54! Screamed in my face because I heard 60 instead of 50 because he was turned the other way. I looked at him and I said, okay, and I went and I took that plate. This same guy, he's like in his 60s, and he would make perverted jokes. One time this girl, who was 16, 17, asked like what number something was, and he looked at her and was like, 69. This 60-something-year-old man just made a 69 joke to a 17-year-old girl. I'm sorry, that's not okay. This guy. My worst day by far at Slim Chickens, and every day I went was my worst day, but this tops it, all of them. There was this email sent out by UCA saying several businesses that give out a student discount. And for some reason, we were on the list that gave out a 10% student discount every single day, which none of us were aware of. We didn't know that was a thing. So people would come up, order something, and say, oh, I'm a student. And we'd be like, oh, student discounts is on Tuesdays. And they'd be like, oh, but I got an email saying that you always give a student discount. And then we would turn people away. We turned people away for like a week about this discount because none of us knew what was going on. I obviously don't check my student email, so I didn't see the email until later when I looked. But for a week, we were turning people away saying that wasn't a thing. Our only student discounts is on Tuesdays. So then Saturday comes around, and trash, the 4 GM trash was there. And there was this girl working the cash register. She's epileptic. So you can't like overwhelm her or she'll get, I don't know. It's not good for her to be overwhelmed, and you just need to calm her down sometimes. She was checking out a customer and they mentioned that student discount to her. And she told them that we didn't have that. That wasn't a thing. They started screaming at her, telling her, well, you guys need to get your stuff straight. We got this email saying you have a discount, so you guys need to get it together. Just screaming in this girl's face. All of a sudden, Trash overhears the conversation and chimes in, yeah, we do offer that discount. Yeah, I forgot to tell you guys, we offer that discount. I look at him and I said, okay, when were you gonna tell us that? Me stepping in for this girl who's being screamed at and getting overwhelmed, who could go into some kind of spasm at any moment. This could have been prevented had our GM done his job and told us about this discount that we have been offering for who knows how long, that we've been turning people away about for a week. So I step in and I'm like, when were you gonna tell us? And he's like, I just found out. I forgot. Sorry. And I was like, okay, no, like, this is stupid. So I told him straight up, we've been turning people away for a week because you didn't tell us. And he just screamed at me and said that he forgot. Like, no, that's not okay. If you would do your job, we wouldn't be looking stupid. And so a few minutes later, I'm bagging some food up in the drive-thru, and he comes up to me and he shows me the email and he's like, see, look, it was this day. It wasn't a week ago. See, this is whenever I got the email about it. And I just looked at him and I said, okay. I was busy bagging up food. I just said, okay. And he looked at me and he was like, I don't know what I ever did to you. What is your problem? Freaking out on me. And I'm like, excuse me, I don't have a problem. You've known for how long about this discount that we've been turning people away looking stupid about? He just keeps flipping out on me, and I get so frustrated. Whenever he walks away, I immediately just go to the bathroom. There was someone else still on the drive-thru, so I didn't just leave the drive-thru alone, whatever. So I go to the bathroom. I'm so mad at this job and these people that I just immediately start crying. And I cried for like 20 minutes, texting my brother and my mom, asking what the heck I should do. I cannot tell you how mad I was. So finally I come out. I wasn't sick, but I could not work that shift. It was physically impossible for me to work that shift in the emotional state I was in with all the anger and disgust. I found the GM. I told him I was sick and that I needed to go home. And he looked at me and he said, I thought you left. I clocked you out 20 minutes ago. I said I didn't. I just went to the bathroom. I didn't feel well. He was like, okay, leave. So I left. And then later a manager who actually knows what's up called me back in and I got to finish my shift. So basically that job, I don't know. Every day that I left, when I got in the car, I would just cry on my way home because I was so depressed because of this job. It was just so ridiculous the way that I was treated. Even though everyone there, when I first started out, obviously knew that I was doing my job, I knew how to do my job, but I kept getting treated like crap. There's just a lot of things. 4 GMs in 8 months should never happen anywhere. That's ridiculous. I don't mean anything rude to anybody in this video. Several of my friends still work there. Don't know how they do it because they talk about every day how they hate it. I would honestly rather move back home than go back to Slim Chickens. And that is saying something because if you know me at all, you know I don't want to move back home. But I want to say I don't hate anybody, hate the situation, hate how I was treated when I obviously didn't deserve it. For some reason I made it sound like I didn't care about authority at all. I am literally nice to everybody. I don't like confrontation until those situations were heightened so much in this toxic environment that I had to say something. I've never had to step up and argue with someone in my life until I worked at this job. And I had to do it several times with several people. One of the days that were just awful was the day that I came home and made that first YouTube video, when I tried to make a YouTube video. I made it, and for some reason my computer wouldn't let me edit it, so I just did it, but it let me edit it a few months later for some reason. One day sent me over the edge so much that I was like, I need to do something. I need some kind of outlet. This is not working. I'm so upset about this job. I went and filmed a YouTube video, and here I am. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you didn't, then okay, and